Young Reporters Disclaimer. Before we get started, a quick note. The views and opinions you'll hear on the Young Reporters are just those of the producers, our guests, and our friends, and don't represent the policies or official views of the Orin Edson Entrepreneurship plus Innovation Institute. And remember, the Young Reporters podcast is for entertainment purposes only.
Matchmaker Communications 101, in collaboration with Arizona State University's Edson Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute, presents The Young Reporters. The Young Reporters chase down ordinary people doing amazing things in the greater Phoenix community and beyond. These inner-city young journalists take their classroom on the air, a class about ethics, commitment, loyalty, and teamwork. When you're on The Young Reporters, be prepared to talk about things you never expected. And now, let's go into the classroom.
Well, welcome back to another wonderful podcast. Alan, thank you for all that you do for this ASU Sky Song Innovation broadcast that you do. And Bob, you are the founder of such a wonderful premise to bring young reporters together with some older folks. And I want to thank you for today because Bob started what we call the Breakfast Club many, many years ago. And on the Breakfast Club, Bob would invite people, much like we have in our room today, and they would tell Bob pretty much memorized who they were. And if Bob introduced you, you were no longer a journalist, you were a #1 journalist, you've written the best book, Amazon loves it. But Bob has always been a promoter, and for everyone else, maybe except himself. So this is a passion project, I believe, for ASU and for Bob and for the young reporters. And today, Bob decided it would be a historic event. So many of the people that I am here with today, other than Kim, the boss lady, are from we've been seeing for 15, maybe some 20 years, like Cap Dean and John Borelli. And Alan, you've been there from the beginning. Kim, you're a newbie, but welcome, of course, to this. And Paula Hartley, the prima ballerina. And the most wonderful person of all, Cap's wife, who has an identity of her own, and that would be Jean. So I don't want to talk too much, but I do want to say that it is, you have proven today, Bob, what the young people, when we had them on the air, what they were in awe of. And that was bringing on the type of people we have today who have been teenagers and been young entrepreneurs at one time. Me included. I did not go to college, and my mother and father were both entrepreneurs in a very middle class. They owned butcher stores, and, Mom helped out at the podiatrist place. But they encouraged my brother to open his own business, and I was very shy. And so my parents said, how do we get her out of this? So I started selling Christmas cards and Girl Scout cookies. That was my first assignment. I was horrible at it. Christmas cards a little bit better. The neighbors felt sorry, so they bought Christmas cards, And then with Girl Scout cookies, it was different. My father was a salesman, so he couldn't understand why I would go door to door and come back with no sales. And finally, he said to me, what are you saying? And I said, I'm saying that the prices have gone up. You probably don't want them. And I heard that the peanut butter cookies were not as good as last year. And I would get back in the car, and my dad would go, what happened? I go, they don't want any. So I took up babysitting. That was pretty good. But this is the truth. So for me to finally leave high school and thank God I never got into sales. Thank goodness I had taken a secretarial course in high schools. Oh, but that was even worse. I was 17, graduated from high school, had a secretarial course, and then we did shorthand, which is like, horrible, took shorthand, and I got a job at J.C. Penney's in New York City. So here I am, 17, on the subway, on a bus, to get into there. And this is the honest to goodness truth. I was telling the grandkids the other day, I got called into my first day to the boss's office to take, notes, secretarial stuff that I thought I was pretty cool. I walk in, look, I still use the steno pad. I go in there and he dictates the letter. I had no idea what he was saying, and I was making squigglies like, dear sir, etc. I came back out, typed up the letter, put it on his desk. He called me in. He said, I'd like to ask you something. I said nothing on this letter. Where did you? I go, well, I made it up because I didn't catch everything you said. And I didn't go back to work the next day. But here's what I want to tell you about entrepreneurship. I asked my parents to call and say that I was sick or that, I was hit by a car. Anything. Anything. And my parents both said, absolutely not. You will call and you will tell the truth. It was horrible. I was crying the whole 9 yards, and I get on the phone and I was praying for HR, but no, they sent me directly to him. And I said, I am not capable of this job, and I messed up. I don't expect to be paid, and I won't be coming back in. And I think under his breath he said, thank God. But it had taught me as a young person, which I want young people to know now, if they invent something, if they do something, and Kim, this is important for you to answer, I feel like it is part of what we ask our children or grandchildren. I told you I do coffee talk with the grandchildren, and I ask certain questions. I say, what's your best subject? What do you like about school? What don't you like? And then I say, if you were to invent something that you feel would be useful, this is ages 3 up to 20, what would it be? They look a little, crazy. At times they look at me, oh, Grandma, whatever. You cannot believe what they come up with. Well, I think that the coffee cup, it should stop dripping at a certain time, or just little things. And I encourage them. And right now I do have 2 grandsons that want to invent shoelaces that don't untie, because when you are on the basketball court, and this happened yesterday at one of their games, the kids don't know how to tie shoes like we did. They do 1 bunny ear, 2 bunny ears. Who has time on the courts to do that? And so the clock runs when they're tying shoes. And I understand that sometimes coaches say, take your time, the buzzer will run, etc. So my grandsons came up, the 2 boys, and they call it, not this up, or whatever it's called.
Don't disclose too much.
Okay. Oh, okay. And,
intellectual property.
Okay, there you go. So I feel like what Kim is trying to do, and I want you to explain how you are using adults like us who have our own businesses, or certainly John, all these different people, what we've done. How do you see us implementing and making them excited about what we older, I think we're all over 55. You said you are? You're not.
No, I'm 54.
You're 54. And you're what, 11? Yeah. Yeah, Paula's still pointing her toes everywhere.
We found out that she retired at a very old age for a ballerina.
Right,
so.
And I only gave her 3 years.
So she's in her 40s
She's a baby.
That's right.
But I would, if you will indulge me, everyone else, Kim, I would really like you to explain what you see, what your vision is for these students, and how can we help?
So I'm going to pull the mic over so that Alan doesn't smack me.
It's because your voice is so fabulous, we don't want to miss any of it.
And what about mine?
We need to work with you a little bit more on that.
You want me to kick him under the table?
It's okay. I have an
Oh,
accent.
no, Kathy, you're not going to believe this. That whole segment, I forgot to push the record button.
I believe that you are fibbing.
Oh, no, come on.
I'm joking.
You're lucky you know him well enough. Yeah. So go ahead, Kim.
So, and again, my opinions are my own, but I have to say, the work that the Edson Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute is really amazing, because we attack the challenges towards innovation in this country on a multi-level. We serve the ASU students, of course, but we also serve the faculty. We also serve the community through programs. And my team specifically, the team I work on, because I'm not the boss, is serves K-12 students and teachers. And so like if ways that the community can support us, number one, you can go to the ASU Edson Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute, and down at the very bottom there's a thing about mentorship, and you can click on that and you can go and sign up to be a mentor with ASU. So you may work with members of the community, you may work with college students, you might work with faculty, you might work with a third grader that's invented something to help them through the process in various ways. And you don't have to be an expert in invention or innovation or entrepreneurship, but you pick the things that you're good at. Like CAPS would be leadership.
Right.
Leadership is a very important part of entrepreneurship. Right. So he may say, well, I'm not an entrepreneur, but your skills and your abilities around leadership is very important, and those types of mentorship skills are important.
Let me make this personal to you, because you are a representative of what it is to be a grandparent of an inventor. Talk about your role, your granddaughter's role at Invention Convention Arizona here, or whatever that event was called.
That was our state event, Invention Convention Arizona, which is open to any K-12 student in Arizona. You don't have to be associated with the school. So my granddaughter has lived with us, because my daughter-in-law and my granddaughter have lived with us since, before she was born. And so we raised her learning about design thinking and innovation, and would ask questions. She was 4 years old when she prototyped wings for her Barbie doll. That's the kind of thing. But then she went into school, and we actually enrolled her in my daughter-in-law put her in a very good charter school that's really focused on that STEM stuff. But even in that, because it's all about the right answer, that innovation and that creativity has been driven out of her, because there's always a right answer on the test. And that's a critical challenge that we're seeing. So when Invention Convention, she started working on her invention. She had an idea.
What was her invention?
It was called the Placket Bag, which was a combination of a sleeping bag, a pillow, and a jacket. But she didn't want to do her logbook. She didn't want to do her present. She's like, I did a thing and here it is. But she didn't want to do any of the work associated with it. And I told her, I said, I am telling you, not just as your grandma, but as, this is my team, is that if you don't have your logbook and all of these required things, you don't even qualify to go to nationals this year. You can come and compete. And she took third place in her grade. And then her little friend got to go to nationals with his, but he had everything all in order. And when we walked out, this was the most challenging part. She was really polite and everything in there, but the minute we get out to the vehicle, she starts screaming at me and saying, you screwed up. You did this. You didn't do this. You didn't. And I said, wait a minute. I said, whose invention was this? And that is one of the challenges that we do see today.
Let's pick up on that.
I bet
we have
that
to go
is.
to break. We have to go to break right now. So let's pick up on that, because that's really interesting that she's a very creative inventor, but there's an issue. That's very interesting. We can pick up on that when we come back from our next break. Stay with us.
Hello there. Welcome back to the adult version of Young Reporters. This is Paola Hartley speaking, and I have right next to me Kim Reynolds. I've got Alan Ripa and John Borelli, Cap Dean, Bob Fishman, Kathy Droz, and right next to me is Jeannie Dean. And Kim was just finishing a really lovely story about her granddaughter submitting an invention, but then taking it out on her. And it seems like John had something to comment about that.
Well, Kathy had a wonderful entree into the last section. I think it's really important what you're saying, because you're sitting down and talking to your children. That's something that needs to be done. It's difficult to have a conversation with anybody, it seems. All of us could probably count on one or two fingers the people we like to sit down and have a coffee, where you could have a conversation about things that are not just about complaining or talking about others, but something that's important. Something that really moves you, something.
So, Kim, what was it like when your granddaughter's getting mad at you? That's I'm curious, John. When you talk about having a conversation with people or a kid, what was your reaction? What was that like? Here you've been trying to help her and coach her or whatever. What was that like to be a target at that point?
I looked at her and I said, "You need to chill, first off." I said, I tried to sit down with you and help you with your logbook, but you wanted to go watch TV or you wanted to go play a video game. I told you in advance, we had plenty of time. And so she raged for about 10 minutes. And I said, you know what? Until you're going to listen, I'm not talking anymore. And so my husband and I had conversations, and she's back there raging and, no.
That's right.
I think that's a good point. I think we talk too much. And maybe you said too much to that child, in my opinion.
But wait a minute. In that moment, though, Kim, so how long? This is right after she comes out.
This is right after
that same day. Is that right?
Yeah. This was like, and I believe it or not, I actually didn't say a whole lot to her. I let her rant and rave, and then I said, you know what? Until you're ready to listen, and we can. And so she sat for a few minutes, and then she's like, well, I guess I could have done my logbook better.
Duh.
And
So
I should have listened to you.
So she is getting accountable.
She started to do some metacognition and some accountability. And by the time we got home, she's like, Monkey. She calls me Monkey instead of Grandma. She goes, Monkey, can you print me out a new logbook so I can start on my invention for next year?
Oh, good.
So she has been intermittently working on, and she's got a little notebook. Except one of her friends at school, a little bully at school, took her notebook and this is Renette's diary, and starts saying things that's not in there. And she's like, no, that is my invention logbook. Those are my invention ideas.
Good for her.
But you talked about, you always ask kids, what do they want to invent? One of the questions I ask them, and I don't ask them what do you want to be when you grow up or where do you want to go. So I ask them, what problem do you want to solve?
Oh, that's good. I like that one.
What do you want to solve? So, Bob, I want to hear, or John, I want to hear more on that.
Well, it's not what you want to invent. It's what's in your heart. What really moves you? I mean, where is your passion? What makes you happy? I was talking with a lady that was counseling, and she was journalizing, putting a journal together every day. And she was writing down all the stuff that was in her head that were making her unhappy. I said, sit there, look in the world, write down something that you see that makes you happy. Look at the butterfly or something that's flying from one plant to the other. So with these young children, the whole thing that drives this, and certainly people who have gone through a change of platform in their lives, what is it that you really, what makes you human? What is it you're wanting to get out? What is it you're wanting to say? And I think that has to do with passion.
John, explain to me, because you went from being a big-time lawyer, and you're still practicing right now, or what?
I'm still licensed, yeah.
Okay, so basically, and you presented at the Supreme Court at times, or what?
I've worked on cases, that wanted to go there, but never successfully argued.
And so what was your passion in doing that? What led you to that?
Well, that's not the passion I want to talk about.
We'll get to the other one. We'll get to the other one in a minute, okay?
I'll tell you,
this is part of the show. Part of the show is keeping us on track to cover many missions at the same time. So, John, I definitely want to hear about the deacon part of you, for sure. But part of that is what led you from being a big-time lawyer to deciding to become a deacon. It's part of the whole train of the path.
Well, as a lawyer, people ask me what kind of a lawyer you are. And I gave the same answer when I asked my father what kind of a doctor he was. He said, a good doctor. So all of these things are in you at all the same time. It's not that you define yourself and put yourself in a
So you belong in this invention convention stuff because you're describing an entrepreneurial mindset.
I've grown up in a family with entrepreneurs. And I understand that. I counseled with people as a counselor for years in regard to these matters. But the thing is, I really think what it is that you need to find that platform, okay? It's not the Supreme Court.
Okay.
The platform is what makes you satisfied. What is it that makes, it isn't happiness. I don't want happiness for my kids. I want, maybe faith or something, salvation or whatever. I want satisfaction. So that's what drives you.
So what took you from a passion towards law to a passion towards your faith? Or I realize it was probably one and the same throughout.
Well,
but what made you become a deacon?
The major part of my practice was criminal law. okay? And I started out prosecuting people, and I saw what that did to families. And then I became a defense attorney, and then I defended white-collar people. And I was a senior counsel for a corporation, and realized that they really didn't deserve what they were doing. And then I started doing public defending. I was supervising public defender and ended up here as a judge.
Each time driven by your knowledge of your passion going in a
Either
certain
that or
direction.
getting fired for telling the truth.
Yeah.
You know.
So one step. But now you're into the Catholic world in a big way, right?
Well,
you're a deacon in the Catholic world, right?
Well, you know what? I mean, I have my own apostolate, which means at 75 they require you to retire, pretty much. So you're lost, your regular platform, and later on we'll talk about the writing stuff. But what it is you're communicating. You want to communicate to but sometimes that communication is not so many words. Sometimes that communication is the feeling you fit together. Gemütlichkeit, as the Germans say, something, it's something that happens when you're together. And so solving problems really comes from community. When you're sharing aspirations and you have a path where you want to go.
What led me to John is his daughter, Kathleen Chafee. And Kathleen is part of our team as well. I met Kathleen when we were doing the program at St. Vincent de Paul, which Kathy was part of the team that we went to present there that got us that particular period of time where we were working with the St. Vincent de Paul kids. Another frustrating experience in certain ways, a great experience, but it's like, it was a fabulous experience. But Kathleen was there as a dedicated volunteer, his daughter. So his faith is lived out in his kids, no question about it. And so Kathleen, who's going through a little bit of hard times now, a young daughter who's just started university at Vanderbilt, and she's going through some health stuff, and yet still has that passion for helping other people. She'll be part of our group here. But Kathleen, her passion as a volunteer at St. Vincent de Paul, working with those families, was fabulous. She introduced me to her dad at some point, and her dad I love him because he's as feisty as I am, and he's passionate like crazy. You get a demonstration of that here. And so that relates to everybody on this panel. Paula, you had to be super passionate to commit to dancing all the time, right?
I was, and I do want to, I think, kind of unite a little bit some of the comments that have been done. First of all, Kathy, I relate to you with speaking to your grandchildren because something that my husband and I do a lot. I only have one child, but something that we do is we always ask him when we pick him up from school, "How was your day? What was your favorite part? What was the least part that you liked?" And obviously to get them to talk, but then uniting about the passion of community, of how can you unite people and get them together. I've talked about in past shows about what I do, the project that I do, and how I involve different students between the ages of 15 and 19 in ballet and contemporary to work together so that they can be the opening acts to the stars that we bring in one performance that is an annual event. And one of the main positive aspects that we gathered from the opinions of the students, besides the opportunity to get to watch live and interact with these stars, with their idols, was the new friendships that they created. Mm-hmm. And to me, that was such a highlight because that's kind of what I wanted to go for. It was to create collaboration and unity within these kids that are so used to competing. There are so many dance competitions out there, and these studios are all very well known, and they compete against each other. And then all of a sudden you have 10, 20 kids in one room from 12 different studios, and now they have to rehearse together and get to know their names and introduce each other and themselves, and then they're working and they start laughing, they make mistakes, and then they're all excited about the performance, and now they have new friends.
And you get...
Love it.
They get new friends, and you're the one who created this opportunity for this connection. That's an avenue of connection.
Yeah, humbly I am, yes. And I'm very proud of it.
This ties up with something Kim says all the time, scarcity versus abundance. That's one of your passions, Kim, talking about that there's a big pie out there. She's very big. Kim is very big on creating. Everybody's got creation aspects in them. Go ahead, comment. I love your comments on that.
Just that everybody thinks that resources and money and things like that are finite and everybody has to compete for the same pie. wealth is created. It is not stagnant.
So Paula's story right there, they're learning that they're competing, but they can make a bigger pie in effect.
You can make a bigger pie, and we all work the world is better when we work together. I believe in competition completely. Don't get me wrong. We need to be competitive because that's what hones your abilities and your skills and drives you to do better. If everybody is all just kumbaya and let's get along and nobody's competing, nobody's trying to be better.
Right.
And we're going to be stagnant.
Well, that's why there are so many dance programs in the state that are so successful in their training, and that's why their kids are so good, is because of the competition. And so to get one show where all the audience can actually celebrate and recognize all these studios and all the talent that is in the valley.
So we have to go to another break. I lost track of segment, but we will come back. Stay with us. We got another great segment of the Young Reporter. Stay with us.
Be headstrong.
Welcome back to the Young Reporters. This is Cap Dean. We're carrying on here with Bob Fishman and Alan Ripa, Kathy Droz, Paola Hartley, Kim Reynolds, and my spouse, Jeannie Dean, Heidi Jacobson, and Janice Scott.
John Borelli.
And John Borelli. And would like to welcome you back to this program. This is the adult version of Young Reporters. I'd like to get us started here by a question to Jeannie Dean. And she's served overseas for many, many years with myself. And I'd like to ask her what she has felt about her role and what has she done over all these years. Jeannie, you're on.
Oh, wow. It was a privilege to serve with you and have our two kids with us while we were overseas. We served in Laos, Nepal, Pakistan, Tanzania, Lusaka, Zambia, and South Africa in Pretoria. Our kids have frequently thanked us for raising them overseas. They have wonderful friends that they have met in the 30 years we spent overseas.
Jeannie, during that period, first of all, what was it like the first time? Laos was the first place you went to?
Yes.
What was that like as you're flying into this new adventure? And did you have your version of what you're doing, or was always Cap's doing it and you're just supporting? What was your life? What was your version of what you're?
Well,
what
you're
was it
right.
like the first time you go in?
As we went into Laos, we were in a DC-3. My daughter's ears, she was an infant, she was just 2, and her ears were splitting. And she was in tears, she was screaming, and all of a sudden, it's her ears, I realized. And I started blowing in her ears, and the people sitting in front of us in the DC-3 turned around and like, what kind of a mother are you to let that happen to your child? It was a little distressing. But then, on top of it, when we were driving out to our home, my darling husband pointed out these houses on stilts because they were built over swamps where they raised rice. And he said, You're into this, right? This is what your house, ours is just down the street.
You're into living
and
over.
So I thought I was living in a house on stilts. Okay, I guess this is what we were in here for. And then we pulled into the American sector and with a big concrete brick
Were you just teasing
school.
her, Cap? Were you just teasing her?
Yeah.
Cap, were you just teasing her?
Oh yes. And the houses I pointed out to her had pigs and cows underneath.
So, geez, what was the mission for all those years? Were you ever like saying, well, here's what I want to do, or no, I don't want to do? Were you ever like, or were you just 100% on board?
I was into it.
Okay.
He always had wanted to do something in order to serve.
And you'd always you were an Air Force wife, right? So
Yes.
you were used to this life to some extent already, right?
Oh, yes.
So
Yes.
so this was like going overseas was a big new deal.
It was not anything that I wasn't afraid. My mother was a little afraid. And I naively said, but Mom, the U.S. government wouldn't send me with little children to a place where we didn't belong, would they?
Tell your version, because I haven't heard one of the details, but Cap always brags about the fact you guys have been chased out of a lot of different countries. What's it like to feel like you're on the run, having to get out fast? With a family?
Yes. Well, I wanted to know what kinds of things we should pack to get out quickly. You want to take, in fact, I served on a committee that wrote up a brief after we were evacuated from Laos on what you should have in your suitcase. And your passports, any important papers, insurance papers, that kind of thing. And I was involved in printing this brochure, which is still active on the list of things that the U.S. government provides for people.
And by the way, just to summarize all this, CAP was a significant player in USAID, which of course is pretty much kind of like they're unifying that in the State Department, probably the best way to put it. So CAP, what's it like, and Jeannie, to something that you guys were a part of for so many years? Does it feel like a grief period to kind of accept the fact that some of the functions of USAID are they're either going away or being, how do you feel about this organization that you guys were and that was the organization that was basically supervising you with the Mandela stuff, or?
Yes.
Okay.
I could go on the rest of the day about that, but
we don't do politics, basically, you know that, but just from an emotional
politics,
standpoint.
Although politics were at the root of it, it's hard to see something that has done so much for the United States since 1962, when President Kennedy initiated the Peace Corps and U.S. Agency for International Development.
Oh, that happened at the same time, basically, is that right? Pretty much
yes,
at the same time? Okay.
within, I think, 6 months of each other.
Okay.
But a real shame, because there have been literally millions of people who have died, who are going to die, because of the basically loss of U.S. aid assistance, which helped our influence in many countries and brought a lot of goodwill for the United States. It's part of what they call soft diplomacy.
And I certainly understand the different opinions in the country on different things like that, including like the idea of monies being spent for things that have become politicized. And so maybe people object to the priorities of whatever. They object to government priorities in general. But you guys spent a lifetime in service to the country, and you are, people say thank you for your service. You were a military guy, so obviously thank you for your service. But there's service in USAID. There's service. I was an AmeriCorps person for 2 years. Nobody ever thanks me for my service, ever. And that's all volunteer, whatever. So I'm glad the military, and I want to do the PTSD home. I want to do the PTSD military reporters show eventually. All those people who are still suffering with PTSD from all the different things, but they need to be honored, but they also need to be healed. Just like we got a lot of fixing to do, basically. So Jeannie, we really appreciate. And again, so you were always on board, basically. You were always on. If Cap's doing it, you're on board, including letting him go to Iraq to maybe die. You figured it was a mission for him to do, right?
Yes, exactly. And you were asking about what were my thoughts about moving out quickly when we were evacuated.
Yes.
one morning before we were awake, actually, we got a telephone call from the director's office in Laos saying, you don't have to go to work today. And Cap, who was on the phone with the director's secretary, said, and why is that? And he wasn't quite awake. She said, where are you in your house? He said, the bedroom. She said, go look out your back window. He looked out the back window, and we had a tank in our backyard, and it was time for us to go. So they said, there will be a bus for you as soon as we have arranged for an airplane to take our people out. And so I packed up the kids. I did not pack much of their clothes. I packed more of our important papers. I figure kids are going to outgrow their clothes before I get them home even. So,
Kim, are there ASU faculty or students that would capture some of these stories? That this is history that we're talking about here that's never really been captured, and this is again, Jeannie just had a recent health episode herself. These are strong people. I mean, she fell through a wall basically. And what'd you break, a hip or what'd you break?
No,
a shoulder? What was
nothing broken except my head. I put my head through the bathroom window when I slipped, through the bathroom wall.
Yeah.
And I had a brain bleed, and then needed to be in the hospital for about 2 weeks.
And so part of today's mission was to capture for posterity, get this on film, get this on tape, but also maybe create an opportunity for some kid at ASU who's interested in documenting history or something like that. Maybe there's a videographer or something
that I have no.
Okay.
That there are so many different colleges and departments and everything. My expertise is in the world of entrepreneurship, innovation, and invention.
Maybe get a kid K through 12 to invent something about what they're doing.
There you go.
So that's the thing. We are John Borelli. I want to go back to you because you obviously have, as you're listening to the Cap Dean story, you're of the same generation. Maybe you're going through the same history, the Kennedy period, all that stuff. What were you doing? During that era? You were a young lawyer at that point, or still in school? What?
I didn't become a lawyer.
You got about 30 seconds right now.
I didn't become a lawyer until '73.
Okay.
At that time, I was a polio victim, and at 8 years old in 1953. So I couldn't. They wouldn't take me in at that time because I was still having some problems. And when I started college, the war was pretty hot in Vietnam and those places. And I had to stay. You had to stay in college if you didn't.
Yep.
So I missed 8 weeks of college at the beginning of college, and so I dropped out of medical things. I couldn't make up my labs. So I started, and I made up what I did. So I ended up doing a minor in art, then government. I ended up at SMU and graduated from there. But the whole idea was that when I was in law school, a lot of young men were going to Vietnam. And a lot of people were getting in trouble. And I had a program there. They had 30 cases. I was handling felony cases. And some could have a choice to go to Vietnam or go to jail, which could ultimately end up in prison.
Yeah.
So I always wonder, what happened to them. So, yeah.
So that's when your law journey began, basically.
Yes.
Okay. So we have one more segment to go, I think. We are the old version of Young Reporters. We just heard some great untold stories from Jeannie Dean. Cap, you did a great job bringing us into that segment. One more segment. Stay with us. We've got a lot of history here today.
We're returning to Young Reporters, and this is Jeannie Dean speaking. I'd like to tell you who I'm with. I am with Kim Reynolds. I'm with Alan Ripa. I'm with Deacon John Borelli. I'm with Cap Dean. I'm with Kathy Droz and Bob Fishman. Bob, I want you to answer the next question. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to leave early?
probably go to the bathroom, Gene. Probably, at least that for sure. But oh yeah, I'm sure there's been many times where I had. But you guys stuck around. You showed up and you stuck around. And so, first of all, having a friendship with you guys has been a privilege.
Oh,
And I know Kathy feels the same way, right? I mean,
Oh God, yeah.
being able to get people like John Burley in there, being able to get Kim Reynolds, being part of her, being able to give Kim the excitement. She just thrives in the studio. Like Alan said, she's got a great voice for this, but she thrives. She's just got this light bulb, dots connecting, light bulbs flashing, energy, passion, and she gives me trouble, which is great because I deserve it. And so, and then I just Alan Arepa, you just one day when this full story is told about this, what Alan has been doing over the last 3 months in particular is monumental in terms of carrying a very heavy load, doing all the creative stuff. When you watch the show, eventually you're going to see, we were sitting here in front of blank blackboards or whiteboards, but when Alan produces the show, you're going to see what he creates. It's one of the little things he does to create the classroom setting. Alan has ferocious creative instincts. Every once in a while, Kim, I have to rein him in to make sure we don't violate any major landmines or.
What trouble are you causing, Alan?
I put in the noises when you said the Jetsons, and I put the actual Jetson noise in, and he had me take it out.
Why?
Because you're ASU, and I didn't know that you might want to have a permanent label of having Jetson noise in the background.
I mentioned when she did the noise, I got spit on me from when she tried to make the noise. So.
Kim, we can always put it back.
Totally do that.
Have you do well.
He knows copyright law.
This is ASU. It's like a big deal. We want to make sure nobody loses their job. Stuff like that. So
hey, my opinions are my own, and we welcome you into the space. I set up the space for you and show up, but.
Yeah, you show up as thank you. Seriously, Jeannie. So. Is there any other question you have for any of the panelists, or are we moving on?
We can move
on. We're moving on. So, Kathy, I know you're sitting here and observing, okay?
Yeah.
Again, you go back long before we ever started teaching the kids, long before we, went in the studio. You were there just as you're dancing on the bars for your Busy Buddies program with the Advocate. You're selling shoes in a shoe store. She was classic. It's classic. Whatever that would produce the ad revenue, we went out and sold this. Talk about entrepreneurial. We went out and said, Kathy will go to your business and work for 3 hours. Yeah.
Oh wow.
3 hours. So she
sold shoes.
And so it was so much fun. So asking you the kind of question about like Jeannie and Dean and Jeannie and Cap when they first started going over there. What's it like for you remembering back when I intruded in your life and said, "Are you willing to have a cup of coffee with this lowly person that's nothing in the community?" And you said yes. So what's your memories of stuff like that?
Well, that's interesting you say that, because having an ad agency, which I had, obviously was a lot like Girl Scouts, but when I started the ad agency, I did something that other ad people said don't do, and that was if someone called up, which they would, radio, TV, your ad agency is covering automotive, they figure, oh, money, money, money. And they would call and say, I'd like to come in and talk to you about the radio station. Other ad people had been for years go, cut it out. I would see everyone. That's how I met Bob. I would see everyone because I wanted to be educated. I wanted to know something that someone else did.
You're not going to miss a cup of coffee. You're going to be open to meetings.
No,
right?
and you sounded so nice on the phone, and you were not salesy. You were not salesy, and I like that. You were, how about a cup of coffee? And I think you came to my home, if I remember.
I did, yeah. I remember.
Right, my husband was home. You knew that, right?
No, I think so. I think I did. So anyway, I got to thank you again. It's been a wonderful journey, and Kathy is available, and she's off doing busy things and big things, whatever, she's forever. Alan Repo, we haven't gotten any minutes with you yet. Alan is like, She just, by the way, Alan, you told me that we won an award today. Is that right? Is that we?
Bob did when I came in. There was somebody from ASU looking for him.
Oh,
What?
why?
Yeah, because they wanted to give him the Nobel Peace Prize for music. And I said, well, I already got it. And they said, well, we think that he should share it with you.
I was honored. I was totally honored, but I think I defer to you, Alan. You're the one who has reached the Nobel of it, So.
Well, I didn't want to argue with him because I figured I had the award, but I'm willing to share. It's
Speaking
okay.
of this, maybe we could give Cap. Did you ever get a Nobel Peace Prize? Cap Dean, did you ever get a
Nominated.
Nobel? Yeah, were you nominated or did you get one?
Just waiting for you to put it in, Bob.
Well, Alan has the award to give out. Okay.
And instead of putting the little note on the bottom of the video, I'm going to say it now. This is all hyperbole.
hyperbole.
For all those that are wondering where I got the award. All these awards. I mean, wait till you see when I do the video, I put all the awards on that wall.
That'll be the show we want.
Great.
That's funny.
This is where the filtering comes in, Kim. Occasionally, Alan will take it. We don't want to defer. We don't want to take away from his creativity. We just rein it back in occasionally. That's all.
I say we let Alan go.
All right, good. We've gotten permission apparently from the interim president of the world, Kim Reynolds.
Wow, you've got a Nobel Peace Prize in music, and I'm the president of the world.
Interim, just probationary. Okay.
Wow.
All right.
So it's free Alan. It's free Alan.
Free Alan from the restraints of Bob.
Wow.
How did we go from Cap Dean and his wife to this? That's all I wanted.
We're all a little slap happy, and it's past my lunchtime.
Oh.
This is the awards part of the show, Kathy.
Okay.
Yeah, we have every last segment. We hand out the awards. What did John Borelli? He must have won an award today, right?
I don't think so.
Well, we'll find one for you by the next time you come in. So we are. Coming back from the health issues, Jeannie and Cap. It's like, I went through my stuff too, and it's like, surviving what you survived, surviving strokes, surviving a fall.
Yeah.
Does it feel like a new day all the time when you guys are up driving around? For a while, they had no driver in the household. Jeannie has recuperated enough to be able to drive. Is that like starting a new life again?
Actually, Bob, I had such good medical care, and I managed to survive it all and healed rapidly.
Well,
I'm very
we're glad
lucky.
for that.
I'm very
But
lucky.
Cap had a long time recuperating from the stroke, and obviously there's still some leftovers. But one thing Jeannie said to me back in the hospital, I think it was at St. Joseph's, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Jeannie said to me that she hopes that Cap comes out of it still with the same smarts and with the humor.
And he did.
And he did.
And
More
he
way
did.
beyond that, yeah. So Cap, we were talking about you when you were like under, so.
Well, I was just telling John a moment ago, I woke up in the hospital a couple of days after my stroke, and 3 pastors from my church had their hands on me, hands on prayers.
Yeah.
And I said, oh my gosh, this must be worse than I thought it was. They're
His
saying
humor.
goodbye.
No, they were following the
Humor.
directions.
That's great. That's great.
No, but the only lasting thing is my
Your walking
my
stick.
cane, yeah.
Oh,
One thing
that's
he never lost, his grip. Even in the hospital, his grip, or in the rehab center, his grip. You want to be careful when you're doing a handshake with Cap. His grip is just, it's a killer grip. So,
Can I, talking about a killer grip, Kim, I have a question for you, and I'm sorry, Bob, if I go off track.
no, we are not on a track right now. So go right ahead.
So during this entrepreneurial innovations, et cetera, mentors, whether professors, et cetera, I'm curious if the same things as we were taught, a strong handshake, you reach out. I teach automotive salespeople how to treat women, and I always say you reach out your hand into the female first. I don't care if and generally now I hear more men saying, my wife's buying the car, that type of thing. But but a firm handshake, I was always taught, etc. Is there any part of that they also, or are they just vying for this process of maybe number one innovator, and they get to go? What happens in
I
that?
think it really depends on the mentor. I mean, by the time they get to the point that they're reaching out to mentors, you expect that they've learned these things. Now, when I was a high school teacher, I taught intro to business class, and I taught those kinds of things as a high school teacher. But there's so many things that you expect kids to already. And young adults, but I see John over here shaking his head.
The etiquette is ridiculous.
We've got about 30 seconds right now, so it's got to be a quick comment to close this
Go
up.
ahead,
Well,
John.
it's been a wild ride, Bob.
Thanks, John.
We talked about many things, the community, entrepreneurship, the loss of the platform, I think, is an interesting place. You know, there's lots of history. And I think that shows us who we are, where we've been, where we're going to go.
This will not be your last time in the studio, Joe. We enjoy your company very much. We want to get you here with your daughter. We make it a family event. Kathleen is such a wonderful person.
Certainly.
Our prayers are with her and with Ava. And she sang in our studios before. Her daughter, she is a fabulous young woman.
How old is she, John?
22.
Yeah, so we are the old version of Young Reporters. We're thankful for all of our guests today. It's been like Kim said, a wild ride, or a little bit wacky towards the end, but we are authentically who we are. That's our goal. We want to teach. We want to give a helping hand to people who just need a start in life, whether they're kids or adults. We want to fix problems. Thank you for listening. We'll be back again in a couple weeks. Follow our podcast on crradio.com.
crradioshow.com.
Our radio show. Okay, cool. It's like the old days.